Awesome. I think let's just wait a couple of seconds more and then we can start this.
Sounds good.
Yep. So let's do a couple of introductions before then. I can start. I'm Arsh. I work as a DevX engineer at Okteto. So I'm part of the marketing team here and responsible for creating our technical content and working with product on features and requests from our developers who use our product. Jeremy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Thanks, Arsh. I'm Jeremy Adams. I look after the ecosystem over at Dagger. And that means I work with our community and our partners to build integrations and just generally do cool stuff with Dagger and tell people about it.
Cool. So let's start, and I can share my screen so that we have some slides with us. Let me So in this webinar, we're going to talk about how you can improve the CI pipelines you have with the help of Dagger and Okteto's preview environments. I'll first let Jeremy give an overview of what Dagger is in case someone who is not familiar with Dagger, they can be aware of what the product is. And then I'll do a quick intro about Okteto. Uh, Jeremy, I don't think we can hear you because you're not on the stage. Yep,
Aha. Am I on the
perfect.
stage? Perfect.
Yep.
Great. Should we jump in? What do you think, Arsh?
Yeah. I think it
Okay.
would be nice to have a quick intro of what Dagger is.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Arsh. Really appreciate being with you today. So, for folks that aren't aware of Dagger yet, I want to give you just a brief idea of what Dagger is. So, one way to think about Dagger is it's a programmable CI/CD engine. You can think of it more broadly as a pipeline engine, programmable pipeline engine, because we have folks that use us for all sorts of pipelines, data pipelines, AI/ML pipelines, all sorts of things. But CI/CD is a great place to start, and we'll be talking about that a bit today. And it's really key that we run everything in containers, which means that you're going to get the same results wherever you run Dagger. So you could run Dagger on your local machine, on your laptop, or on some server, or you could run Dagger in any CI provider, and you'll get the exact same results. Programmable, of course, meaning that you can use real programming languages. So think Python or TypeScript or Golang, and it's not a bunch of hacky bash and YAML kind of mixed together, but it's a real programming language with all that power and the ability to share and pull on libraries. You already have all that good stuff. And then, of course, containers add an important isolation to the mix, but they also make these pipelines super cacheable, since pipelines are built up in layers and there's cache volumes and all that kind of good stuff that go along with that kind of container technology we all know and love from the kind of Docker and Kubernetes ecosystems. So that means, again, that you can run stuff the same anywhere and that Dagger pipelines are truly portable. So hopefully that'll get you started, and you can learn more by just going to Dagger.io and checking out the docs.
Thank you for that. I think that really gave a good overview about Dagger. Personally, actually, I'll keep my Dagger appreciation for later because when
Okay.
we show the code, I'll
Cool.
point out the things I really liked. So, before working on this webinar, it was the first time I was working with Dagger and writing a Dagger module for Okteto. I have to say it's one of the nicest experience I've had with a tool which is not even I'm sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but not even 3 or 4 years old. But yeah, the user experience, the developer experience was really good with Dagger. So I love that. And as we go through the demo, we'll show you what we are talking about, and I'll point out the parts which really stood out to me. Cool. So I'll give a quick intro about what Okteto is. So Okteto is a platform for automating development experience. Now, those may seem like complicated words, or you might not get what you mean by what automating development experience means is, but what it basically means is that these days with cloud native applications, it's just really tough for developers to set up their environments and have realistic environments. And it's really important to have these kinds of environments, because as our applications get more and more complex and they have more and more microservices, if you're not able to replicate the production setup during development or during testing, you just basically set yourself up for failure down the line. You are not able to iterate fast on your application. You're not able to deliver values faster to customers. There are bugs you are not able to catch. So it's a lot of things, a lot of those problems. What Okteto does is it automates those problems away for you, so that your developers are able to have a great development experience when working on microservices and Kubernetes native applications. And in doing so, when you automate all of this, you also ensure that your developers don't get exposed to this new layer of complexity that Kubernetes and all these cloud services added onto the developers, where they were now supposed to, learn DevOps tools, interact with Docker containers, or AWS services and all of that. You take that burden away from them and allow them to focus on writing code, which is their primary job, so they're able to do that better. Uh, so Okteto has multiple ways of doing that. We have environments for development, testing, and preview. But in this webinar and the demo specific to Dagger, where we leverage Dagger, was for preview environments. So what preview environments do is, whenever a developer or a team of developers are done working on a bug fix, feature, request, whatever, and they create that pull request, preview environments deploy all the code in that pull request and give you links where you can access that deployed code. So basically, it's a copy of your application, which has the latest code, and it just gives you an idea of what your application is going to look like when you merge this code. Now, the impact of this is that it's very valuable for developers to be able to first just be sure that the application is able to get spun up, because if it's not spinning up, that means you broke something and the application is just not able to go live. But also, it makes for like really fast review cycles, because now you are not waiting for staging or pushing to production. Now, as soon as a developer makes a pull request, you get links where this application is deployed, and you can send these links to anyone on your team. So developers also, like, usually, like when you're working with complex applications, to test out a change, it is cumbersome, pulling those local changes, then running everything on your local desktop. That takes time. So for developers also, it's easy, but just think about the impact it unlocks for the rest of your organization, because teams like design, product, and sometimes even sales, they are not able to get an idea of what the changes would look like until until sometimes the changes are in production, or they still have to wait till staging. And at that time, if they have some feedback, then adding that feedback is really tough, because you have to go through the whole cycle again. Whereas this way, the pull request is still open. You can view your application, you can get feedback, and if there is feedback, you can make those changes right then and there, get updated links, get that validation, and just quicken the development cycle in your organization. So was a I hope that explained the value of preview environments for everyone. So what we set out to do is that, traditionally, when you write preview environments for your repositories, we have our GitHub action, which is like a bunch of bash scripts, and like we have a separate action which we maintain for GitHub. Then we have a separate thing for GitLab, and it's just really cumbersome maintaining all of those pieces. And which is why I was really excited by the promise of Dagger, where it allows us to provide our users preview environments in a way that is like much more easier for them to adopt, and it is much more maintainable for us. And it really helps as well that Dagger is very CI provider agnostic, so we just maintain our Dagger module, whereas everyone else just like whereas Dagger takes care of running it on GitHub, GitLab, Jenkins, and Circle C. I think there are a bunch of things Dagger supports, so that's really cool. So I want to talk about how, when I set out to create this Dagger module, like how we structured it. So there the Dagger module basically calls the Okteto CLI, and there are three main commands in the CLI which it leverages. One is the command to just talk to your Okteto instance, and that is called setting the context, so that it knows what Okteto instance you want to deploy your preview environments to. The other is the command to deploy preview environments and destroy them. So that's Okteto Preview Deploy and Okteto Preview Destroy. So whenever you use the Okteto Dagger module, you deploy a preview environment and destroy it. It first makes a call to set the context so that it has idea what Okteto instance is talking to, and then it basically runs the underlying Okteto commands with the right flags, which we'll soon see. So you can see how simple it is to write like a Dagger, like functions and Dagger modules for your own tool, right? Because you know what commands are like relevant. Like all of your product is sometimes not relevant for everyone, so you know the pieces which are like relevant to a particular set of people, and you can abstract that away in a Dagger module, and you can slowly build functionality into it. So like initially when I was working with Dagger, my goal was just like write one Dagger function which at least sets the context and allows you to talk to the Okteto instance, and that's one step. Then the second step was let's increment what is the quickest value I can provide. Okay, I can do preview environments, let me give the ability to deploy preview environments. I did that, and then it was like, okay, the preview environments are there, what about next? Like we can destroy them. So you make these incremental updates, so you ensure that your Dagger module is well structured. And by the way, so Jeremy mentioned this, like when you write a Dagger module, it can be in the programming language of your choice, so that's a huge plus. Like I do not personally like working with Bash a lot, and a lot of the scripts we maintain are because of like are in Bash, like the GitHub action is in Bash. So using a programming language to and using the patterns of a programming language to maintain and write your Dagger module, I think is a huge plus. So that was one of the advantages of Dagger, which I really really liked.
Arshad,
um,
I
yeah.
totally have to second everything that you're saying. I mean, one, the value of preview environments, we use them as well. Hugely valuable. I mean, if you're not using them today, it's a game changer. You should totally be using this and integrating it with your CI pipelines. And yeah, I think you approach this like exactly right by taking a tool that you knew really well and incrementally creating an API, if you will, for other people that don't know Okteto Preview environments as well, and having that be something they can now easily integrate into their own pipelines. They can build their app, and then they can use this preview, these preview functions, because you've prepared it for them. It's amazing. So I'm glad you had a good experience.
Yeah, I think we have done enough talking and how we built this experience, and it's time to show people what the actual thing is. So let's do a quick demo. This is the repository. I think I need to change the tab I'm sharing, so give me a second. I think I'll just share the entire window. Um,
Nice.
mm,
Less talking, more code, Arsh.
yes, like I will go to source, and it's a simple change we'll make. Yep. Um, so what we did just now is that we made a change on our application. We changed the title and we made a pull request, and when we did that, we saw that a GitHub action was called, which is internally using Dagger to call the Okteto Dagger module, and which is further interacting with the Okteto instance. So you can see here that we are able to see all of these logs from Dagger. Jeremy, would you like to walk this through? And if you need, I can bring the Dagger cloud view in as well, so we can see all of this stuff here.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So, just to give you an impression of how this all can come together, from whatever CI you happen to be using. So, if it's say GitHub Actions or any other CI, Jenkins, Circle, anything, GitLab, you can essentially kick off a workflow that has a pipeline that is built with Dagger. So, in this case, Arsh has got his you can see it says preview deploy. He's got a bunch of relevant arguments that are going to his preview deploy function that let us make sure we're targeting the right PR and the right repo and all that good stuff. And then the Dagger engine will get started, and that Dagger engine will then within it pull in whatever resources it needs. So pulling in source code, creating new containers to create isolated environments to execute certain commands. connecting to things over the network, etc. But done in such a way that it's isolated from the underlying system. So this is how it's going to work the same, here, say in a CI context as it would on a local environment context. And in either case, we're streaming all this telemetry up to Dagger Cloud so that you can watch this as it's happening, collaborate with one of your teammates, or debug something if it goes wrong.
Cool. And while that happens, I think it would also be helpful if we show what the actual, how simple it is to just write and leverage this module. So we'll see the one to deploy a preview environment. And you see, like, I have this one job and I'm calling the Dagger GitHub action. And that's the beauty of it, right? Like, because we right now have to maintain a GitHub action. And then we have to, like I repeated earlier, like do it for all CI providers, whereas now we just maintain a Dagger module, and each CI provider, I think Dagger has some integration with all of them, and you just call the Dagger action in this case, and then you provided the module. So here the actual source code of the module is, which is GitHub Okteto Dagger module, and you give it some args, and basically it just does its job on its own. Like, technically, to get this running, all you need is this code. The code below it is just responsible for getting the endpoints and just creating a GitHub comment with those endpoints. So if you don't want those endpoints, if you just want to create that preview environment and see it only in Okteto, you don't even need rest of the code. But if I show you some of our existing files where we are using this, you'll see like it can get much more messier because of just having to write a lot of stuff. So going back to our pull request, we see that the action is done running. So I am gonna go to the pull request. I could have just clicked there, but this is the one 4 minutes ago. We see we have all these endpoints here, and when I click the endpoint, I should be able to see my updated to-do list app, which is now called Dagger List instead of Okteto To Do, which is a very hard name to pronounce. But yeah, not only this, but if you go to your Okteto UI here in the preview section, you see that it actually talked to the Okteto instance and then created this preview environment for us. So you can inspect it and you can see the Okteto relevant logs here, what it did. So it loaded the Okteto manifest, then it built the container for each of the microservice of the to-do list app, which is basically a front end and a back end. But what's exciting is that with Okteto, you get the ability to not only just deploy your code, but also provision resources you need on the cloud for you. So for example, this app was taking backups of to-dos on an S3 bucket. So let's say like do webinar, right? And you see that when you add this, you have an option to save these to-dos and these get backed up on an S3 bucket. But in this preview environment, that S3 bucket gets created for you and you see an endpoint to go to the AWS console and actually see that bucket. So all of these resources are being created by you for Okteto. And that is what I meant when I say that it's a platform for automating development experience, because you're able to automate the entire life cycle of your application and your developers don't need to know anything. Like, to be honest, like your developers in this case, like they don't need to know about Dagger, they don't need to know about Okteto. All they need to know is that, hey, I wrote some code, I made a pull request, I've gotten these URLs, I can view my app, I can send it to review, and I can do basically anything I want uh, without having to take the cognitive load of configuring all these pieces, without having to take the cognitive load of learning AWS, of being familiar with what containers and everything else is. So that is what we mean when we say, like, using these tools together to create a meaningful development experience for the developers in your organization. um, Jeremy, would you like to add something on
No,
that?
I mean this is the dream right here, right?
Yeah.
You created kind of that golden path situation here, and it's like an interface that, like you said, the whole team can take advantage of. And now, if you're going to have that, I think you said there was a product manager or someone who wanted that name change to happen. It's very easy for them to do the review, accept this change, and then ship it. So no, I love this.
Cool. So that was the experience we wanted to show you that you can create. The other thing we wanted to show you was the actual code for this. Like, we won't obviously go super deep into it, but how did we, write about this? Like, how did we create this Dagger module? So Dagger has this. I don't know if marketplace is the right word to use this, but they call it Daggerverse, where you can publish your own modules, and you can use modules published by anyone. So this is the Okteto Dagger module, and you can see what all commands you have available for you here, and you can see the relevant code for it as well. Like Dagger allows you to chain stuff. So if you want to create a superset of the Okteto module, and you want to call the Okteto module in your own module, you can do that, and this like helps you out with all of that stuff.
And Arsh,
um
can I point out one little
yeah,
thing here that I think is
definitely.
really cool? I think you wrote this module in Golang, right?
Yeah.
So you'll notice just on these examples,
Yeah,
you see how you've got shell.
ways
So
to
of
call
course
it
you
in
can
different languages.
exactly you can call stuff from the command line to test things out, or it might be
Mhm.
part of your workflow, or you can call it from any one of the Dagger SDKs.
Yeah.
So and it doesn't have to be rewritten. So Arsh wrote it in
Yeah,
Golang.
I see the benefit now. Like, see, I
Yeah.
like writing in Go, so I wrote this in Go. But someone else who is making this Octeto superset module, they might not like Go, right? They might be a TypeScript developer, so they are now not forced to use like Go just because this module is in Go. Like, I feel like that is a huge win for the platform team. Like, just working in a language you're comfortable with. So that's amazing. I had not noticed that. Yeah, very cool stuff. So this is the Daggerverse page of this module. Check it out. From here, you can directly go to the actual source code as well. And this is source code. Let me move. So it's a simple single main.go file, and basically what you do is like you have the three functions, Dagger functions they are called, which I talked about in that flowchart. So one is to set the context, the other is to create the preview environment, and the other is to destroy it. And the code for it is really simple. Like you first have a context setting function which basically creates a container. I don't know if this text is too small. Let's zoom in, remove this
Oh, that's
single
pretty
thing.
nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
So you Dagger gives you a container, and then like I specify the Octeto image. So this gives us a container which has the latest image of Octeto CLI stored in it, and then we just give it the token to authenticate with the Octeto instance, and we tell it which Octeto command to run, and that is Octeto context use, and then you pass it the context, which is an argument for the command itself. Uh, and the best part now is that I can now use this Dagger function inside another Dagger function. So this is the one to deploy a preview environment. And here you see that I call the set context function. I pass it the context and token. And then I say that, once this function is done, I want you to execute this command called Okteto Preview Deploy. And we then give it a bunch of settings like which branch you want to deploy, what is the URL of the repository, and all of that stuff. And it does that. After it does that, like, this is the chaining part in Dagger I was talking to you about. Like, you could just technically like do something else here, like if you wanted to run tests. But what I did is what I ran another command which just lists out the endpoints after the thing has been deployed, and I just outputted as JSON, and I read the output and basically passed it as a like as a for the user who ran this to view. But what you can do is that if you have your own testing framework, or you want to run E2E tests, you can have another with exec command, or you could use some other Dagger module for a testing framework and run tests against those environments, and then show that output in your CI pipelines, so that not only are you giving developers way to see their output, but you're also giving them test results of all the things like pass, and if the code they wrote is like passing your test. So I think that's a huge plus, this ability to just customize things, and customize things to your own workflow. That is like a game changer for my different organizations. And this is the preview destroy function, which works pretty similar way. So I won't bore you with the details of that, but I'll leave it to Jeremy to add if he wants to add something here.
No, yeah, I think you did a great job, Arsh. But I think one thing that you pointed out, and some folks may have noticed, was this strange little variable called DAG that's floating around in there. And so you could think of DAG as that's your entry point into the Dagger core API, or the Dagger API, I should say, in general. So you start off always when you're writing a module having the core API at your disposal. So you can create containers, you can pull things from Git, you can work with files, directories, execute commands, etc. But all you have to do, say if I'm writing a new module and I install Arsh's module, then I will have just extended my API to include these new Okteto preview functions. So those will also be available under DAG, and I can actually,
Yeah.
so I can start using everything you've written.
Like we were using dag.container. I think container is one of the default ones you provide, but someone could use dag.octeto. I'm not sure what it would be called exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, it'd be the name of your module and then your
Okay.
functions. So you can start
Perfect.
by installing several modules. You can start. You've basically extend your API, and which is again great for platform engineers who are trying to create APIs for different types, different types of users, or if you're trying to integrate in, oh, I need to pull in what the data team knows that they wrote in Python and what a cloud native team wrote in Go. I need to pull these together and present that as a new API. That makes it really easy.
Cool. I think we have bored enough people with the code. Let's just try to wrap things up. And I wanted to do a quick. Oh my god, why is this? Okay, let's just. It's just doing a full screen when I do it in slideshow. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I just wanted to quickly summarize on like what the benefits of this approach is. So I feel like there are two things here. Like one is just the ability to have preview environments and provide preview environments to the developers in your organization. And that is a game changer because again, like with the kind of complex applications we are writing today, it is really tough to see the impact of your code or showcase that impact like of your code on the whole application if you're not able to like get the visual result of like seeing that thing. You won't be able to get that satisfaction of writing something and being sure that it works or getting feedback in an easy way. And preview environments are a great way to solve that and give you that feedback. And the best part is like I think I forgot to mention this, but Okteto runs all your environments including preview and dev environments, which is another part of our product, on actual Kubernetes clusters using manifests you deploy, using the same manifest you use to deploy to production. So our whole idea is that we want you to mirror your prod environment in dev and testing and preview. So you deploy to an actual Kubernetes cluster, giving you and your developers the peace of mind that if this thing is working right now, the way it is looking right now, that's how it's going to be when we ship it. And there are no hidden surprises or bugs. The other part of this equation is how do you provide these environments in your own custom setup, right? It's not like you are starting a company from day one and you are just like adding preview environments. I'm pretty sure like anyone watching this already has a CI setup, and it's if it's old, then it's very likely it's complicated and it's messy, it's hard to maintain. And as you add more pieces like preview environments and other stuff on it, it is not going to get easier, it's just going to get harder for you to maintain. And this is one aspect. The other aspect is us as like maintainers of providing this feature to our customers. We maintain a GitHub action, we maintain a GitLab action. So all of these aspects are there, and Dagger solves all of them. They make the users of the preview environments happier, they make us as maintainers happier. And the way they do that for us is by allowing us to just maintain this one Dagger module while taking care of being agnostic towards running on any CI provider. They take care of all the hassle of making sure that it's compatible with it. But on the other hand, they help you as the user who will be using this module by making sure that the way you write your CI pipelines is maintainable, and you're able to easily add more tools by simply chaining stuff, which Jeremy was just talking about. So you can write your own code which just uses this module, calls on this module, and does a bunch of other stuff. So you can do all of that. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, I love that. I think that philosophy is one that we share completely. Our Octeto and Dagger folks share. That idea of like your same Kubernetes configuration for testing and for production. Same with Dagger, using that same set of Dagger code, that same pipeline that you could use locally or in dev in testing as in production. I mean, that's the dream, right? You're not
Yeah,
testing two different things, but you're testing one
same
thing,
thing.
and then it's going to work in production. I love it.
Yeah, cool. So we can wrap this up, but would you like to tell about the other things anyone watching this can, get
Yeah.
involved or learn about Dagger?
Totally. Thank you. I'll do a couple quick plugs. Pretty much
Yeah.
you can get to everything that you saw, from the Dagger side. You can get to everything from dagger.io. There's links at the top there for the Daggerverse, where we got to see the Okteto module that Arsh showed. You can also get to Dagger Cloud that Arsh showed, where that was where you could visualize your pipelines and collaborate with your team there. You can also get to the Dagger Docs, which is a great place to jump into the quick start. So you can do your first Dagger pipeline, send your first runs up to Dagger Cloud. And additionally, really, really important is the Discord. So the whole community is in the Discord. Everybody from the top to the entire company, the whole community, we're all in Discord helping each other every day to build these pipelines and figure things out. So would love to see you there and love to work with you on your pipeline.
Awesome. I would also like to mention that just like we saw preview environments, we have another offering in Okteto which is called dev environments, which is even like one step towards the left for preview environments. Like it's even closer to the developer, where developers deploy an application when they are working on it. So none of it gets run on the local machine. Everything is running on the cloud. They get similar endpoints to the ones we saw for preview environments, but as soon as they write code on their local machine, we sync that code as they write it and give them real-time feedback while they are working on it. And like all of this is running on the cloud again, with the whole philosophy of mirroring your production setup so it gets deployed in a similar way. And as you write code, you get that feedback of just things being working and things being fast. And as developers, you don't have to configure, but like starting a bunch of services, starting the database, creating resources and cloud providers and all of that. So check that out. You can go to our website okteto.com and see a demo for that. Yep, these are some useful links. So if you want to see the repo where we showed you the preview environments, everything configured, you can check this out. If you want to see the code for the actual Dagger module, you can see it on the Daggerverse page, or you can go to GitHub. And we also have a blog published where we recap some of the things we talked about in this webinar. So you can check that out and let us know how you found it. Yep, and that was it basically. I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, you can let us know. Otherwise, we can just call it a day.
Yeah, this was a really great talk, Arsh. A great demo that you gave. I really appreciate seeing it live, and it's been great working with you on this.
Yeah, likewise. And like Jeremy said, like join the Dagger Discord. I think if you're interested by it, it's a really helpful community. Like when I was getting started, like I had a bunch of questions, and like people are really responsive. They're really enthusiastic about helping each other build cool stuff. So definitely a big plus on joining the Dagger Discord community. I don't think we have any questions, so we can end the webinar. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for joining in today. And thank you, Jeremy, for coming and working on this webinar with me.
Absolutely. Let's do it again.
Yes. See you all. Have a nice day.